Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Magic Beans podcast. This is episode number 137. My name is Cracker, and I will be your host for this episode. And I'm joined, as always, by my very good mate, Chewy. How you doing?
I'm well, mate. How are you?
Excellent. Very, very well.
Good,
Nearly
good.
the end of the week. Be glad to see this one done, but we had some fun earlier on, so...
It's been a big week. It's been a big week, and it's been great for some things, but it's been a bit of a... Work's not fun. Can't we just play Magic all day?
Oh, mate. I would love to do that, but I don't think we're good enough. Maybe if we played all day, we would be good enough. I think that's how that goes.
Yeah, you've just got to, not have a family to support, I guess, and you can do that stuff.
Yeah. Unfortunately, both of us have large families to support, so I don't think that's quite going to work.
Yeah. Well,
Speaking of support...
That's the reason that I'm not a pro Magic player. It's my kids' fault, yeah.
Yeah,
So support,
definitely.
Speaking of support...
Yeah. Do you want to tell us about
Josh and
illustrious
Pat's
sponsors?
MTG Bazaar are the official sponsor of the Magic Beans podcast, as well as our tournament series, which we'll touch on towards the end of our episode. They are a Facebook auction page with auctions 7 nights a week, premium auctions on the weekend. They have Win It Now posts where they have super competitive prices and often play sets of cards where you can just type sold and just get it there. And the full-time auctioneer means that the communication, packaging and everything is both prompt and as good as you'll get from any card seller going around. They kind of set the standard there. So jump onto jpmtgbazaar.com.au or search them up on Facebook and get bidding and tell them that the Beans sent you.
So when you do and you win an auction, you get to choose a token, right? And we were talking about this on the stream the other night. We had a Commander stream on Tuesday. And there's some really great tokens that we got to use, including the threat token. And we made a joke about putting it on a T-shirt. And then I held it up and I was like, actually, this would make an awesome T-shirt. So when you win an auction, check out all the different tokens that you can get and the arts, and tell Pat that you want them on T-shirts.
Yeah.
And I will 100% buy one of those threat T-shirts. Or if you're into the not the threat one,
I'll have one of each. I'll absolutely have one of each.
Yeah.
I'll have a Commander Damage and a Storm Count T-shirt even. That's cool. So
yeah.
I think that would be sweet. So, but I have a lot of tokens. So if you, maybe we'll talk about the playing Commander on stream a little bit. But if you go back and check the VOD, you can see what we're talking about after you've listened to this episode. But I've got a bunch of tokens. I've won a few cards from Josh and Pat's over the journey. But I've got a whole bunch of elves, a whole bunch of goblins, a whole bunch of I've got food tokens, all sorts of stuff from Josh and Pat's. My Wormcoil engine tokens, the Death Touch and Lifelink Worm, are from Josh and Pat. So he's got a collaboration with an artist who has got a really cool style and make custom tokens. And one of the prizes for winning the Magic Beans Invitational is actually you get to work with Pat and his artist and create your own custom token. And we saw the Not the Threat token get bantered around a little bit on Tuesday night, which was super fun. And that was courtesy of Hemsey, who was our inaugural Envy winner. So I was pretty excited to use that on stream. It was a bit of fun.
Yeah, it was good. So we played Commander on stream on Tuesday. 4-player paper Commander in person with the Beans.
Many cameras, many microphones, many lights.
So many lights.
And I think it went pretty well. There's
many laughs.
Yeah. It was everything you would expect by, getting 3 of your best mates and sitting around and playing Commander. So there was smack talk, there was politics, there was many, many laughters, and there was some good games played with some fun decks as well. So I really enjoyed it. So there was yourself you started off on the Locust God?
Locust, that's right. Yep.
And
that's
then
kind of the deck I've talked about the most. It's the one I've had built for, well, not the longest, but it's kind of the one I put the most effort into as far as going out of my way to not start with a precon. That was kind of one of my...
It's your best deck.
Ones.
It is someone who's played against you in Commander Pods regularly. It's easily your best deck, yeah.
Yeah, and it just has like all the cards that say draw a card on it. So
What could go wrong?
Yeah,
What could go
nothing.
wrong?
You just, I mean, anything can go wrong, but then you draw cards and it's all fine. So
Yeah, exactly. Don't have the right coloured mana, draw cards. And it's like mana fixing.
exactly.
You know, absolutely. So then, just thinking about going around the table, we had Disco Stu with his Luna Mutate Shenanigans deck.
Yes.
Yeah, which was pretty spicy. And Polywaffle with, is it Zaxara?
It was Xara, yeah.
Yeah. And he was, casting big giant X spells at us. And then I had my maiden voyage of my Grenzo Dungeon Warden Goblins deck, which was, a deck I've been working on for a couple of weeks. And yeah, it's good to give it a spin. It needs a few upgrades, but yeah, it's fun. And thank you, Cracker, for, doing the right thing for entertainment value on stream.
I did.
And you played Coat of Arms. And
I did, and you nearly killed me with it, and then 2 turns later I did kill everyone, so...
Yeah, so it worked out perfectly for you in the end, right?
It did. I mean, I didn't have the win in hand, and I'm like, I could play another Mana Rock or do something boring. I'm like, no, let's see. And then, of course, you untapped and played Krinko, and it was scary times.
It was like 9/9s or something going on. So, yeah, it was really good. And you mentioned that it's something that we'd been working on for a little while. So can you remember, when we first sort of started talking about paper Magic play?
I mean, we've been talking about streaming paper Magic for actual like years, I think. Like kind of for the whole time we've been doing podcasts and things, it was always like, oh, we should stream stuff. And then, Arena became the de facto way of doing it because, well, we couldn't meet in person. And it takes a lot of effort to stream really good quality in paper. And that was one thing that we're always really mindful of, is just, if we're going to do it, we want to be able to see the cards. We want it to look good, and we want to have it so that people feel like, they're sitting down at the table and, just hanging out with the mates. That's kind of the main aim of all of the Beans content, right? We want people to feel involved and like they're just part of our friend group, which, I think of a lot of the people in our community as just being part of our friend group now.
Yeah, sure. Like if we had like a terms of reference document, like our MO would be, like just extend our like Magic friendship group to the broader community. And we don't do anything differently on stream or when we, interacting with people on Discord or anything. We don't do anything differently with, people from the other side of the world or interstate than what we would do with one another. And I think that's, that's fostered the community that we've got. I think it's just, we treat everyone the same. We smack talk everyone equally.
Correct.
So
that is exactly right.
Yeah, it's good.
And so as far as the actual commander side of it, I think we knew that would take a bit more effort. So we started off with just like a single overhead camera, and then I'm trying to think of even what we did for microphones. The first couple of streams we did test streams where we didn't even have all the stuff we've got now. And then, Polywaffle doing Polywaffle things, invested some funds into, making it all look pretty great. And so we got that big custom playmat that you would have seen, and then the microphones and a couple of other things. And it really all just sort of came together over, most of this year, I'd say, but this year has just blown past. So
crazily fast, yeah.
I can't quite remember when we got that stuff in. It would have been towards the start of the year, I think. And it was good to finally just have the opportunity to set it all up, and I think it ran pretty well. I was there, click and touch portal and a stream deck to kind of move the cameras around and change the scenes and update the life totals. But
well, that's worth pointing out as well. Like, we didn't have a producer behind the scenes. So ordinarily there's
normally we do it.
5 of us, but Shorty's on holidays.
Yeah, or we've had 4 people playing like 2-player games, at which point you've got like a couple of people. And I think now that we've got most of the stream stuff settled, like we know what we're doing as far as setup and kind of going live and where we want the overhead cameras and that sort of stuff, certainly helped. And then it was just, it was good though. I think it ran really well. Still things to improve, of course. And
we'd love to hear from other people as well. So if you were hanging out in chat on the night, or you want to jump onto twitch.tv/MagicBeansCast and watch the VOD, would love to hear your thoughts, what we could have done better and things. And having a producer would allow us to, like pop up key cards on the screen, like to zoom in things and things like that. Mm-hmm. But We could change things that were static via the Stream Deck and live totals by Touch Portal and things like that. But, we couldn't next level it in that sense without somebody having to kind of step away. So that sort of stuff, I think we've got a pretty good handle on. But if there's anything else that you want to see or we're open to constructive feedback. If you're going to tell us that we suck, then kind of like, well, tell us something we don't know. Like, if you can do better, you stream champion. Constructive feedback, hit us up. And we want to do more of it, right?
Yeah, lots. And I think one of the best ways to do constructive feedback for me is to like present examples. So like one of the things that we've talked about a lot is taking ideas from other people who've done it really well, like Versus Live, for example. I think that the setup they had has been outstanding. Like SCG, like the quality of, the command zone and all that sort of stuff, the SCG stuff and the way that they do their live banter and that kind of stuff. I think that was always a really good place to try and sort of draw from, not to necessarily copy exactly. I mean, I watch a lot of different, EDH streams and VODs and stuff like that. Like I really enjoy watching their content. And like there's lots of just good ideas about like, hey, these guys do it with, microphones here or cameras there and that kind of thing. And, it helps you draw from lots of different sources. So if there's stuff like that you can point us to, like ship us a link to a YouTube video of like, hey, this part, they do really well.
Yeah, plus I'm probably just happy to watch another couple of games that I haven't seen because I'm probably going to go, oh, I forgot that card existed. That's going to be good for whatever deck, So
yeah, we'll watch once to watch the game, and then we'll go back and watch the production. Exactly.
So, but because we want to do the best that we can. We want to have some content that people are interested in watching. So if there's elements out there that you think we can add, then hit us up. Keen for it.
Absolutely, but definitely keen to do more Commander. I mean, it's obviously, I think it is the most fun, just like as far as constructed formats go. I think, just sitting down and just hanging out with your mates. That is the gathering part of it is definitely the best part. Plus the nonsense that goes on.
We had a discussion as we, once we'd packed up all of the lights and rolled up the playmats and, put all their dice away. And we were kind of heading off for the evening. We did kind of have that discussion, like we should do this regularly, and we're going to aim for like at least once a month, but we're going to try to do it once a fortnight, which is a commitment. It's getting to the location and setting everything up, and having everybody available on that night, and that means our significant others are all doing home duty solo and stuff. So it is a big commitment, but we're going to try to do it at least once a month. So I'm keen for that.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. And look, it won't necessarily be Commander every time. It is a lot easier to, set up a 2-player game. So we may intersperse different things, particularly as we, are testing for events. It might be worthwhile us showing some of our testing sessions. I know that, there's a bunch of Pioneer happening. There'll be some Modern later on in the year. And like, we love those formats as well. So we're definitely very keen to do a bunch of that too.
And knowing Polywaffle,
we have in the past.
Knowing Polywaffle might just be a pure box opening stream. I don't know.
I mean, that was also pretty bananas.
It is worth watching the VOD because we opened 7 collector boxes,
double Masters collector booster boxes.
Yeah. So we got some spice out of that, as you would expect. It's like, this one card pays for this box. Like, what?
Those packs are just... They're so much fun to open. Like, I mean, we skim through the comments, but like the comments, they're all beautiful. They're gorgeous. So good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So good fun. Absolutely good fun.
Yeah.
I loved it. I got to do goblin things, and I got to watch people do stuff.
How did you feel about it? Let's talk about the gobos. Because I remember, like, it was probably, 3-4 weeks ago, you're like, I think I want to build a goblin deck.
Yeah, fun. Definitely fun. But... for it to be like busted, I need to add a whole bunch of like tutors, right? So I've got all of the regular like spew huge amounts of goblins onto the battlefield and like attack people with it, and that's really good for killing 1, maybe 2 players, but it doesn't really win you the pod. So it's a deck that's more about like, I feel like, vomiting my hand and creating an army of giant things. And that's the itch I want to scratch. So I'll do that. And I don't care about winning. I do have some infinite combos in there, which are mostly around Skirk Prospector and First Day of Class, which lets me go infinite with, there's Putrid Goblin, which lets me get infinite mana. And then with my commander, I can, cast him as a large goblin and then put every goblin into play, from my deck into play. And when you've got, Goblin Kings and things that give goblins haste and, you create an enormous army and you kill people. Murderous Redcap lets me do infinite damage. But I don't have any tutors that find First Day of Class. I've got, Boggart, Harbinger, and Goblin Matron to find the goblins I need for that. They're my only tutors in the deck. Some card draw, so it's it's possible, but my deck's not focused on the combo. So,
Sure.
And I like that. I was saying just before the cast, I like that power level in Commander. So I could add, Imp Seal, Vamp Tutor, Demonic Tutor, whatever,
Sure.
and make
all the stuff, yeah.
make it uber consistent. But then it just becomes a combo deck and doesn't become a goblin deck anymore. And that's not what I'm trying to do with this deck. It's nice to have an I win button because sometimes games of Commander can go long and you need a way to win. And also you need a way to compete with the decks that have got Zaxara and Freed from the Real. Or, Coat of Arms and 1/1 Flying Insects with Wheel of Fortune.
1/1s, mate.
yeah. Well,
I drew my deck. I played 2 creatures and drew my deck. So
exactly, yeah. So that's the, it gets very, very large very, very quickly. So you need to be able to compete with that. And,
Sure.
just like you've got is it Sage of Fables? Is that what it's called?
Sage of the Falls.
Sage of the Falls. With your commander, lets you draw your entire deck, and every card you draw, you make a bunch of 1/1s, and you've got Coat of Arms in play. They're all infinitely large. You don't have tutors to find Sage of the Falls, but if you draw it...
So I've got Fabricate, which will let me find an artifact, because there's a lot of just good artifacts to dig out. The other kind of way to go infinite is with Ashnod's Altar and Skullclamp. So if I have those in play with Locust God, I can attach the Skullclamp, which draws me 2 cards, and then you sacrifice 1.
So you're
insects to
netting a
Ashnod's
1/1
Altar.
each time.
Correct. But you're plus 1 mana as well.
Yeah.
So because you make 2 for sacrificing to Ashnod's, it costs 1 to equip. So you kind of draw through your whole deck until you've got, enough Hasty Boys and then a large enough amount of mana. And then after that, you play, Coat of Arms to kind of pump the squad, or you've just made 60 flying insects, and hopefully that's enough to just kind of dead everybody.
Yeah, it's often enough. Yeah, exactly right. So that's the
because none of my stuff is fast. Like all of my win conditions revolve around having the Locust God in play.
Yeah,
which is it's
6
a 6
mana
mana
4/4
creature. Yeah, so there's plenty of ways to interact with it, and I don't have any free counter spells. I've definitely got counter magic. I've got I opened a mana drain a while ago, so that's in there, and I've got powerful things, but
but you're not sitting there with
I'm not. I don't know
force of
forces
negation, force of will
no
stuff.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and I have no problem with that either. Like I enjoy playing at that power level, but only if everyone's playing at that power level, and I think that's that's true for Commander, right? It's no fun if someone just sits there.
And that's
going,
why you have Rule Zero conversations, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I feel like my Gobbo deck is a power level below your deck, and that may just be you've been working on that deck for 2 years. I've been working on mine for 2 weeks. So that's definitely a part of it. But I've got decks like my Muldrotha deck or my Enchantress deck and things like that that absolutely compete on power level with your Locust God deck, and
100%.
and they're fun to battle. But I didn't care really that I, didn't win. It was just about doing Gobbo things, and that's kind of what I'm signing up for with that deck. If I feel like winning, I'll play not Commander, right? Because for me, I'm a competitive Magic player that loves Limited, but I have some Commander decks because Magic's a fun game, and playing games with my mates is really fun, and I enjoy the politics and the deck building. And Highlander and Cube are peak Magic for me, and Commander is a way to get those interactions that you only get in an Eternal format like that.
Sure.
So
Yep.
All the combos we spoke about, they're not good enough for Modern or Legacy or anything like that. So but you can do Commander's a space for those sort of shenanigans, and I love that. So Commander absolutely has a really special place in my Magic heart, but it's not the be all and end all for me. I'm not playing Commander to win. I'm playing Commander to have fun. And CEDH is not for me, I guess, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those who want to play it. People that play CEDH probably hate Modern, right? But I love it. So that's the beauty of Magic. It's got something for everybody. There's no right or wrong. I'm just sharing what I enjoy the most. And I love Commander, but not competitive Commander, which is a
Have you
format.
tried it, though? Because it's actually a lot of fun. Like, if everyone's playing with that level and that focus of trying to win, like, and I'm not trying to say you have to do it, but it for me, it was actually a lot of fun because you go in knowing that everyone's, got the potential for just crazy out of nowhere wins, but it ends up being like Legacy or something like that.
But see,
like
for me though,
Modern.
like I'd rather just play Legacy, right? Like Legacy exists. Legacy's super fun because you know what you're signing up for. And it's about scratching the itch. And what Commander does is make Magic a really well-rounded game. So I can be challenged by playing limited and having to, build a deck in a short space of time and work with limited resources. I can play constructed and try to learn play patterns and matchups and sideboard strategies and go really deep and really learn a deck and solve that puzzle and from the deck and the format perspective we constructed. And then when I just want to do super fun, crazy shenanigan things and have laughs. So that's, so CDH probably really fun, but not something that I'm drawn to, I guess is my point. Yeah.
No, that's fine. I understand that.
But yeah, it's and that's just a totally personal thing. There's probably people going, you don't know, but it's like, whatever, like, come play 7-Point Highlander. If you think CDH is fun, 7-Point Highlander is better, like in my experience. So get onto that. Probably just offended a couple of million Magic players in the world, but that's because they haven't tried 7-Point Highlander.
That's it.
So divisive. Can we talk about PUBG and Fortnite again? Oh, yeah. That was spicy.
I mean, we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
We probably shouldn't, but
no.
Let's keep it on topic and
let's keep talking about Magic. Okay, what happened this week in the world of Magic?
Sorry, I said the reserve list. No. So what happened this week? Look, not a lot. We're kind of in a lull at the moment. I think we've talked about that before. We had some of the Dominaria previews come out, but we had a chat about those last week. The thing that did come out, which we kind of wanted to go over, is the 2022 State of Design. So every year since 2003, Mark Rosewater, Maro, the head designer of Magic, kind of reviews how they went. So the way that Magic sets go is not like on a yearly thing. It's the weird American cycle, I guess. It's like summer to summer or something like that is probably the way they view it, which I guess is fine. They can make their own rules. But anyway,
it kind of feels like the financial year to me anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's kind of exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So it's basically an article, and look, it's worth reading. I will try and remember to link it in the show notes if people want to check it out. But it's called, just the Magic State of Design, and you'll find it. And he kind of digs into the things that they did well and things they didn't do well for each of the sets. I don't want to go super deep on each of the sets necessarily, but I thought that kind of the lessons and the highlights are probably worth talking about because it's interesting to see, obviously we have a lot of discourse throughout the year as to how we feel Magic is going.
Yeah, Magic players aren't shy about sharing their opinions.
No, we're definitely not. And that's good. Like, it's because we care so much, but we don't always get this kind of inside view from WotC, except for when, Maro does these. So the highlights. They have pushed the boundaries of what Magic can do. Yes, Mark. That is is quite the understatement there.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw the set with the most words on it this year.
Followed by the set with even more words on it.
Yeah, because the set with the most words on it didn't factor in like modal double face cards or something, right? Like, so yeah. And then we got an online set that you had to scroll on the cards. Yeah.
Okay, but we're not talking about that because that's not real Magic. So
true.
So yeah, it's interesting that they've talked about, pushing the boundaries. They talked about adjusting the color pie, and particularly in Commander with white being white, kind of
just
not very
being
exciting.
the forgotten color.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's tricky because something has to be the worst color, and some of the colors like black and blue started from such ridiculous strong bases in the early sets. Historically they were very, very pushed, and I'm the first to admit that. And then green just kind of took over for a very long time, and red has always had its own unique thing that it does.
It's always been there. Yeah.
has,
Red's always
but
had
white
a
has
fairly
kind of,
strong identity.
Yeah, definitely. And they've really improved on that, and particularly with the card draw in red, with the way that you exile things. I really like the way that kind of fits in, so it's not just you're playing mono red, good luck, hope you draw the right cards. There's actually quite a lot you can do now.
Yeah, it's got more play to it than it used to.
Yeah, definitely. White has kind of, and this is not a surprise to anyone, fallen by the wayside as far as what it does. I mean, it wraths, it exiles, it's got, some really excellent interaction, but that's kind of it.
It never really had a clear identity, where it was always that tension between Wrath of God and Savannah Lions. That's the two sort of quintessential white cards that come to mind. It's just like, gee, exactly. Wrath of God's really good against Savannah Lions. Why would I play white? So it had a tension within its own wedge of the color pie, and it's it needed to kind of pick a lane a little bit more. And I think they tried a few things, and they're getting there. And I think they're on the right track.
Yeah, I agree. And look, as much as I like to, further jokes, hate on white Magic cards, I do want it to be good. Like, I do want it to be a viable option, because like the balance is important. Like, that is, a really critical component, because otherwise you might as well just not have it. So
exactly right.
You could easily absorb these, effects into, hey, look, black has got all the damnations and wraths now, and mono red has got all the, goblin pikers and stuff like that. It's just like, all right, well, we can do it that way instead and just cut white out. But I like that it exists and it's good. I agree that they're kind of pushing it in a good direction. They just need to do more.
You can't have Wooburg without the W. So
you had to think for a second where it came in the list, didn't you?
This is my dyslexia coming to the top there for a hot minute.
My listexia.
Yeah.
Can't have Wooburg without...
Which one is it? Yeah.
You?
Yeah, it'd be Uberg. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law called it Uber when we first got Ubers, and still funny. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll just catch a Uber. A what, sorry?
So good. Okay, I can see that. Mind you, I mean, I'm not going to troll too hard on that, because there are definitely words I have read in books for actual years thinking I know how they are pronounced, and then they are not that at all.
Yeah, some things that you pronounce phonetically that are just not sound. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
So, yeah, anyway.
And tangent.
Lessons. In tangent. What lessons did they learn this year?
They need to be a little more conscious about backwards compatibility. So I think this is a bit of a shout out to Commander. So they bring out cards that do a thing, and then you go, oh my goodness, like if we've got Thassa's Oracle, this demonic consultation is really dumb. So, or the Eldrazi thing, or Jace and things. So they design what they think, in a silo or in a vacuum is a really cool thing, but they don't think about how it interacts with the rest of the Magic world. And then it's like, oops, this is broken. And how many times have you heard the phrase, like, what was R&D doing? And it's like, well, they weren't testing, Thassa's Oracle. Thassa's Oracle is the card that comes to mind when I talk about this. They weren't thinking about that with Inverter of Truth. Like, it just wasn't part of their testing. Like, they didn't think about that interaction. And how could you? Like, if you think about how many Magic cards have been printed over the last 30 years, and they bring out multiple sets a year, plus, all the supplementary products and things like that, there's always going to be something, and, they're going to miss things. But if they're conscious of at least giving it some thought now, then they're going to have a higher hit rate. They're going to catch the obvious ones at least, which is, good for the health of the game, I think is good.
Yeah.
And similarly, they need to be careful with complexity. And we talked about all of the, the words on cards and things, but I remember when they first printed Planeswalkers, right? It turned a lot of people off because it was something new. And we're so used to Planeswalkers now, they're just part of the game. But people are like, oh, I'm just not going to play a deck with Planeswalkers in it. And it's like, you're going to lose. This Garrett dude's pretty good. But it's a, people, it's a change management thing. And it's if the game is too complicated, if the things are too wordy, if the interactions are too complex and nuanced, then you're going to lose new players. And that's what they've called out in the article, which I think is really, really good. And they also had a lesson around like their marketing approach. They haven't told people what's coming out a lot of the time. Like, they haven't told people what to expect. And yeah, they've learned some lessons on, communicating with their player base. So I hope to see over the next year some improvements in that, because I agree with that 100%. And it's really good that they've acknowledged it. And everybody will have a different idea on what they think the right communication will be. So there'll be people that are still not happy, but being conscious of it and trying, that's the step in the right direction there. So I think that's really good.
Yeah, I think
good acknowledgements.
One of the things they're referring to there around the talking about their products is the Commander Legends 2, right? And it was just so far from what Commander Legends was that everyone had this giant expectation built in their mind that it would be the next kind of broken Commander set. And it just wasn't. And from all accounts, it's an excellent limited format. There's a lot of really cool cards. I don't know. I didn't look, because they didn't have any broken reprints or very obviously overpowered things like Hullbreacher. And so I kind of just checked out on it, because then Double Masters was coming right on the heels of it, and Double Masters just murdered it. And I think one of the things they could have done better is just called it Commander, Baldur's Gate, right? Not Legends. And literally just removing the word Legends from that would have fixed everyone's perception, and they would have gone, oh, it's like the D&D Commander set. Cool, let's go check this out. Whereas when you call it Legends, it immediately comes
it's
back.
It's like if you call it Masters, right? It just
exactly
evokes a certain power level and expectation.
Yeah, there's an expectation that comes with it that they have built. And it's not anything that the community is forcing on them. We are taking learned information from Commander Legends, which was an amazing set, overpowered in many ways and like problematic in a bunch of stuff. But, hey, that can be fun. But then, yeah, just not... It was really like Adventures in the Forgotten Realm, which was a kind of mostly forgettable standard set as well. There's good cards in there. There's some fun things, but...
It was one of the better recent limited sets, but if you look at the amount of limited games played versus constructed,
Yeah, correct. But from like a impact into like standard and then modern and things, I can only think of a couple of cards that are, kind of broke through. And that was true of the Commander Legends product. And I think that's kind of, it must be disheartening for them, because they're like, oh, this product is actually really good. Like, I wish people would just give it a chance. And it's like, well, you set it up for failure by calling it this. And that is an unfortunate byproduct. And, there is so much going on in Magic and in everyone's life. Like, just, when you've got limited bandwidth for how much information you can take in and how much time there is, the catch cry from a few years ago was, it's not for you, the products aren't all for you, is actually just really true now. And
yes.
And I think that's really important for people as well. And this was one of those cases where it wasn't for me, even though it probably was. Like, I just didn't give it the time because it didn't grab me.
Yeah, and that's a a marketing failure and a promotional failure thing. So the good thing is here is they've acknowledged it. The first step in solving a problem is acknowledging that there is one. So yeah, that's really good. So that was kind of the
overarching
intro,
lessons.
the overarching thing of the thing, and then they got into each set that kind of came out this year, and it feels like it came out yesterday, but also came out 10 years ago, was Innistrad Midnight Hunt. So I remember talking about, the previews and, the different decks that we got out of that. And, I had a lot of fun with werewolves, over the grinding ladder and things like that. But yeah, what are some of the highlights out of Midnight Hunt?
People enjoyed the mechanics is what they're saying. And I think that's true. Like Decayed and Disturbed are kind of interesting. I like the Decayed mechanic. I think that was a cool take on zombies. And, zombies have been around. Zombie tokens have been around since the dawn of time. So it was cool to see them kind of refresh how that worked. And then, yeah, it's interesting, though, because it's like it was the werewolf set, but they all kind of sucked.
Yeah, and they called that out in their lessons. And it's like Tovolar was well received because we got a werewolf commander. And I played Gruul. It was kind of team. I sideboarded some counter magic, but I played Gruul with a lot of werewolves in it to Mythic during that set. So they were probably better than they gave them credit for. They just weren't popular.
Kind of. There were a few really good ones. Like Werewolf Pack Leader was really good. And then there was the one that gave things, +2/+0 and haste. And like there were probably 3 or 4 that were really good and you played as 4 elves. But as far as it being the, in quotes, werewolf set, it definitely felt like a mess.
Yeah, that is true.
I think that's what they're acknowledging as far as like, we've had vampire sets before and things where, yeah. Anyway, speaking of vampire sets, that was the next one, Crimson Vow. Yeah,
one of my favourite trailers. There's been some really good Magic trailers, but the wedding with the who you thought were the bride and groom, bride and groom were actually the cake toppers, if you like.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. So shout out to maybe that can be a highlight, is like that the animated Magic trailers are getting better and better. Thank you, War of the Spark, for setting the bar for us. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what have we got here for highlights? The players appreciated having overlapping mechanics. That makes Standard really good, because you get to go deep on a particular mechanic and exploit that in your deck, and I think that's great. And, we used to get that a lot with blocks. Yeah, and they stepped away with that, and, it's been felt where decks feel a little bit disjointed, and we end up with just these mid-range piles of, good cards, and having set mechanics, themes that you can build your decks around, I think is good. What else are they like here? Blood tokens are something that, we see a lot in, even as far back as Explorer, maybe even Historic. We see blood tokens, and I'm not sure how much Limited you played, but oh my goodness, being able to cycle away excess lands for a new card with a blood token was really, really powerful. It was really good.
Giving everything cycle 1 is pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very, very good. The alternate art Dracula cards were cool for people that were into that lore, and the wedding theme was fun. Wedding Invitation is a card I played a lot of. And yes, you did. There was a lot of, just decent cards that had that sort of theme, cause like we had wedding rings and, the different garments and things like that. So it added a little bit of flavor. And when I think about Innistrad, it was the first set really for me where the flavor and the story, and I'm thinking back to OG Innistrad here, where the flavor and the story was really well represented on the cards. And rather than just being something that was kind of adjacent to the story. So
sure.
What was there was the land where you could sacrifice creatures and it could turn into a big demon thing.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called, but it made monks, and then you could sacrifice the monks to make a big demon, and like that fitted in with like the whole Liliana's contract thing. It was really cool. So to see that type of thing carried through and having a theme that was well represented both mechanically and thematically was cool. So I think that's a hit. for sure. So yeah. What are some of the lessons out of that set though? Anything here you want to talk about?
I mean, similar sort of thing. The vampires needed to be better. They had the same problem as the werewolves, and I guess these two sets were built in conjunction. They definitely felt like a block.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that if you're basing the power levels of them on each other, then if you fall down the hole for one, you're likely to do that for the other. Apparently, there were some rares that were particularly bad for limited. Do you know what they're talking about there? Is there any like gross bombs you can think of off the top of your head that you just...
was that Immerstrom Predator dragon thing that you could sacrifice stuff? Like, there was just like, I drafted this thing, I just can't lose when I cast this.
Sure.
Yeah. So it was just the gap between the best rares and the rest of the decks were massive. And if you think about the best limited formats ever, Original Ravnica, the commons were really, really good. Like, you had compulsive research, right, in the common slot. So there, you occasionally got like a bomb rare or whatever, but it was a flat power level, and that makes the best limited formats.
Okay,
but yeah, what was the next set?
Kamigawa.
This was my favorite set of the year by a considerable margin, I think, and I'm
think
probably
that
not
is
alone
just
there.
True for everyone. I mean, his highlights are it was the home run set of the year. I think that basically just kind of sums it all up, right?
Yeah, like they hit the nostalgia notes, and but it was different enough. It was great, and it turned out to be a good set as well. So I loved it.
Yeah, it turned out to be an excellent set. You know, it could have gone really awry with the whole cyberpunk thing. You know, that's one thing that people were very divided on, but it seemed like it just did really well. So yeah, I don't know. They talk about all the home runs. It's just basically like, yeah, we kind of crushed it, and I think that's true. The only thing that they did there are a few lessons that they learned. One which I think is important was, and we talked about before, complexity. Like, it's just a lot. There is a lot that's going on there all the time, which is good for people who are entrenched in the game like us. But like, if someone saw a box of that and just went, "Oh, that looks cool," it's like a samurai cybernetic, thing fighting a spirit. That looks sweet. I should go check that out. Yeah, this is not the set to intro people on.
No, that's right. It was really good for the enfranchised player, but not a great intro set. And we haven't seen core sets. And another one of the lessons here was that people were sad that it was just one set. So there's a theme here that moving away from blocks was probably a mistake.
But then they did blocks leading up to these, and they were good.
Yeah. It's I
don't know.
The Innistrad set was thematically good, but the cards are a bit of a miss. But like, if we had Kamigawa Neon Dynasty and then Kamigawa whatever, like and give us another Phyrexian Praetor or something, and continue the storyline, then I think, and even if it was just the same mechanics, because that was one of the things from the lessons from the Innistrad blocks, was having mechanics that were across more than one set, which opened up more deck building options because you had got the depth of card pool. Imagine if we had more ninjas, right? Like, you could actually build a viable ninjutsu deck in standard. Or imagine if we had
more samurais,
more samurais. Exactly. Yeah, exactly right. So, although they did call out that the samurai were probably historically more thematic, with like being that sort of lone soldier, but it didn't really work from a gameplay perspective, and samurai were a bit of a miss, unfortunately. So I didn't like Bushido from OG Kamigawa, and I didn't like this one either. So back to the drawing board with the samurai for them.
Yeah, it's a shame because it feels like it's got so much potential, and they've tried a couple of times and just kind of missed. But yeah, it would have been sweet to see another set. And the problem is, if they decide to go back to it, it will be, I mean, it's not going to be another 13 years, but it'll be another 2, even if they started designing it now.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. It'll be a little while.
We're still 2 years out at least.
The cards won't be in standard. So, yeah.
No. Which is, sad. But, that's okay. And then we hit the streets of New Capenna, which is I don't know about streets, man. I still can't work it out. Like, there's some stuff that I really do like about it. Like, it's a good 3-color set, which they talked about the fact is, pretty good because it's been a long time since we've had an actual focused 3-color set. But, I don't know. Like, just personally about that, like, there are some things in the set that I like and others that I don't. I don't know. What
I liked the 3-color sets, and they called out here as one of their highlights. There was a lot of cool individual designs. They didn't feel like the family mechanics, and then the one of their highlights of fans enjoyed the look and feel. The family mechanics were mostly liked. They've called that out. The mechanics were cool. They just didn't carry across to enough cards. And then you had these super powerful cards that did something unique in 3 colors that, was kind of agnostic of the family that they were in. They were just a good standalone card. So it lacked that sort of continuity and theme. So,
and that was one of the things that like the Khans block did really well.
Exactly.
Is like each of the different shards or wedges, whatever they're called. I always get the names wrong. But each of the 3-color groups had a really distinct color identity, and they all were doing, really, specialized things, which felt pretty awesome. And I mean, admittedly, then we had like Fetch, Shock, Perfect Mana, and everyone was doing 4-color nonsense. But that aside, like from a limited standpoint as well, like you were very much on theme to like pick your tricolor and then like stay within it because you were rewarded.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that. I do. They've also I don't know if my experience with the limited format correlates well with this. I enjoyed the limited format that was Streets of New Capenna.
Okay.
I didn't really have too much issue with 2-color decks. I did draft them a couple of times, but, they never felt broken, and I never lost to, broken 2-color decks. The mid-rangey value, building a good mana base, and eventually, capitalizing on your advantages was a draft format that I enjoyed. I enjoy that type of gameplay where you've got to identify and eke out your small advantages and turn them into a win. That was really good, but I must admit I wasn't addicted to that draft format. I drafted it and I enjoyed it, but it didn't make me just want to keep coming back to it. But yeah. And I like the last one is the tricolored land should have been called Triomes. 100%. That's what we all call them.
I mean, they are. They are Triomes.
Yeah.
And they're not the whatever their houses are. They're the actual names of them.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
The Abzan Triome. The Grixis Triome. It's not the,
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. Exactly. And that was just, like, it's like trying to say this isn't a fetch land or this isn't a shock land. That's like, yes, it is. So it's it's like when they printed the original temples, they did the enemy color or the whichever one they did first. If they called something else that wasn't Temple of, it just, that's how much sense that makes because they're exactly the same as Triomes, just different for no reason whatsoever.
Yep.
Yeah. What came out next?
Commander Legends, Battle for Baldur's Gate. And, I mean, we already talked about this. Like,
yeah, we kind of have, haven't we? Yeah.
They like the fact that it was good D&D all the way down, but it just kind of was flat everywhere else. I think that was one of the things that, there were lessons there. The first lesson, it shouldn't have been labeled as Commander Legends. It's like, that is correct.
Yeah. They talk about the draft format being fun and the Commander designs were original and accounted for a lot of feedback from Commander players. So that's good. Listen to your player base. That's something that they haven't always been great at. So and the players enjoyed the mechanical execution. So I was disappointed that we didn't see more dungeons and more party mechanics and things like that. So, but
what happened with party? Like, I'm still so confused by that. Like, they set that up to be so good,
Yeah.
Like, that had potential to be such a good mechanic.
Yeah.
And then I was like, don't worry, D&D set's coming. They're going to have a bunch of stuff that supports it. And they just put none in there.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
0 party cards. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. Look, it's worth reading the article. It's always interesting to, we've kind of hit on not all the points, but a bunch of the talking points from it. If this kind of side of it interests you, then read what Mark has to say and see whether you agree or disagree. And he kind of gets into, his thought process a little bit, which is always interesting to see, I guess what we can expect moving forwards. Again, the changes take time to implement in Magic because they are working so far in advance. So the next sets, all the rest of the sets for this year will already be in print. They will already have, all this stuff in distribution centers already. It's not like they're just running out to, Officeworks to get another case printed off with some, minor adjustments and things. That's all done. So anything that we see is kind of 12 months out.
Yeah, at least.
And even with that stuff, it's you can make minor tweaks to things, but you can't redo entire sets based on the feedback from the year. And look, we kind of bemoan some of the stuff that happened. Overall, last year of Magic been pretty good. As a whole, if we look at kind of the whole thing, it's been a pretty good year.
I'm happy with the last year of Magic, honestly. I think that we've had some really, really good sets, and we've had some that have been, a bit below, but, definitely a pass mark.
Yeah, let's not just have 4 sets of Eldraine again.
That's right. That's right.
We don't need to get back to that. All right. So,
I'd agree.
It's kind of most of what we had to talk about. We've been playing our league matches, as in some of the people in the Beans community have been playing league matches.
There's a few popping off tonight. I'm checking on the Discord, so there's a few happening. So
we are running out of time.
Yeah, I need to play some.
Yeah, but you have been playing Magic and Explorer in general, so you just need to tee it up with the people in your group. As do I. I played my first one last night. I got a few more to go. Look, the groups aren't huge this time, so it should still be pretty easy for people to get through them. But please don't leave it to the last couple of days. It's not fair on your opponents and trying to make them work around you. Be flexible. And if you don't get your matches done and people have tried to reach out to you, they will be given the win. That's just how the Beans rules are. You can go and read the documents around, attempted communication, all that sort of stuff. So, be available, give some people some times and DM people as well. Just reach out directly. Sometimes just posting directly into your group chat saying, hey, anyone here ready for a game? People have notifications muted. Sometimes the Beans channels can pop off and you can get a lot of stuff going through all at once. There are different times where I've certainly muted it for a while. But most people will have, if I get added directly. So feel free to DM people or at them in the thing directly.
Yeah, it actively encourage that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Otherwise, anything else we need to talk about before we kind of wrap everything up, Chu?
No, not really. Just, get your league matches played, and we'll be streaming the finals in a couple of weeks, which will be super fun as well. So, just keep your ear to the ground on the Magic Beans Twitch channel for sure. Yeah,
really looking forward to streaming the next finals. That'll be a lot of fun, actually. It should be sweet. It's the first time we've done Explorer for this, so I'm definitely keen to see kind of the spread of decks that are available to commentate on and keep us on our toes, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So that pretty much wraps us up for the evening. We're getting close to time, so
we are. If you want to check us out, as we said before, Commander stream from Tuesday. There's a VOD up on Twitch. Please, check it out if that's the sort of thing you want to see. Skip maybe the first. No, don't skip any of it. It's all just a lot of banter and fun. And then the last probably, I don't know, half hour or so, we just cracked a lot of really expensive Magic cards, which was a lot of fun for us. So if that's your jam, you can check that out too. We are Magic Beans Cast everywhere. So Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all of the places. Just search Magic Beans Cast and you will find us.
They're all linked off magicbeanscast.com as well. That's the sort of one-stop shop to find all of our socials.
Yeah, absolutely. All the links are there, and that's kind of a good place to go to get hold of us. The Discord, as we've mentioned many times, is kind of the best place to get hold of anyone from the Beans. We're in there, all the time. So please hit us up inside there. It's always good, and that's where all of our events are run through as well. As always, massive thank you to Josh and Pats. I mean, you guys might get tired of us saying it, but it really does let us do the things that we
everything
do, right? Like we can't afford to run the events with the prizes that we've got. Like there's over $6,000 worth of cash and prizes for the tournament series this year. That we can't do that without Josh and Pats. And so those guys, absolutely fundamental to us letting give you prizes. So thank you to those guys as always. They're amazing in their backing for us. So go check them out, jpmtgbazaar.com.au. And otherwise, if you want to chat to me directly on Twitter, you can do that. I am at JoelHill_. And Chewy, you are?
At ChewyMTG.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. And we will see you all very soon. Bye.